Pilots, investigators, scientists, and researchers from 7 different countries gathered in Washington to discuss their shared experiences about UFOs. 14 people participated in this conference, including a former governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, who said he saw a UFO above southern Arizona in 1997. Other speakers included a retired Iranian Air Force general who said he tried to shoot down an extraterrestrial vehicle but says all his controls went haywire, to a retired Air France captain who says he and most of his passengers saw a huge flying disc. That's me right there asking a question. Perhaps the most, I'm not one of the panel, perhaps one of the most unusual stories, though, came from a U.S. Air Force security officer who, while on assignment at a base in England, was summoned to an aircraft that landed in the nearby forest.
During the evening of 29 November 1989, in a small area in eastern Belgium, approximately 140 UFO sightings were reported. Hundreds of people saw a majestic triangular craft with a span of approximately 120 feet, powerful beaming spotlights, moving very slowly without making any significant noise, but in several cases accelerating to very high speeds.
Now that's a retired Belgian general. I was telling you earlier about that former member of the U.S. Air Force in England. He said he saw a craft in the forest. While they were looking at it, there was no doors or windows on it, but it looked like something they'd never seen before. And then all of a sudden he claims it just took off and disappeared. And I asked him, I said, did you see any people? Did you see any beings? He said it was too small to have any people. I said, but if they came from a different world, they'd be maybe little tiny people. Anyway, he said he never saw any people. The thing took off, and he believes, he doesn't know what it was, but he says it was nothing that he's ever seen on the planet Earth before. Either way, the purpose of this conference, Nicole, was to try to convince skeptics this is a worthy field of study and to request that the FAA investigate such sightings. The FAA has told us before that it, quote, doesn't have the power to investigate either way until a sighting one day results in an aircraft landing and its inhabitants doing interviews with people like us, Nicole. There'll be a lot of doubt about these claims.
This is amazing. And you know what? I can't help but laugh about this because I'm so surprised that some of these high-ranking officials are coming out and becoming almost a new face for UFO enthusiasts out there. Because when you think of people saying, "Oh, hey, I saw a UFO," you kind of think of freaks. I'm not going to lie. Were you surprised to see them there?
I think a lot of them admit it took a lot of courage to get there. I mean, a lot of them are afraid to talk. They think that people think they're freaks or crazy. I will tell you, though, Nicole, that the people we talked to today seem to genuinely believe they saw these things. And in many cases, they probably did see something. Maybe it wasn't from another world. And not everyone who was on this panel, Nicole, thought for sure it was from another world. They just can't explain it. And that seems to be the more typical explanation we hear from people, because we've done a lot of stories about these kinds of sightings over the years. And make no mistake about it, there are tens of thousands of sightings worldwide over the last few decades. But the very important point to bring out, while these people may have seen something unusual that you can't explain, the fact is, until that day comes when someone lands from a different world and goes on television and we see them, I mean, that will be an amazing story. I can't wait to cover it if it happens, but it hasn't happened as of yet.
Of course. You know, it was the goal to make believers of you and I, of course, but what else were they trying to do? Get more funding for research? I mean, what was the point of talking about all of this?
I think a lot of the genuine enthusiasts here are very insulted that the U.S. government has no body to investigate such sightings. Other countries do, and that's why some of the people on the panel were from these other countries today. For example, you had these Air France pilot, retired French military officials. They say France has a body that does investigations. The United Kingdom has a body that does investigations. You're supposed to report this stuff right away. But in the United States, there's nowhere really to report this. There was a sighting over O'Hare Airport in Chicago last year, and the FAA, that's when the FAA told us we don't investigate these kinds of things. And there were a lot of people at O'Hare who said they saw something hovering above the airport. No one's quite sure what it was, but they were kind of encouraged that, you know what, it was probably a weather phenomenon, let's keep it quiet.